One of the tastiest fixtures coming into the opening game of the Premier League season was Newcastle at home to Aston Villa, and there was lots of question marks over both teams. Aston Villa have been very proactive in the transfer market and, got high expectations themselves this season. But for me, Newcastle really turned up in a big way. They finished fourth last season, and there's been a lot of question marks over this season. How high in the league can they finish, and can they handle competing midweek in 4 competitions and maintain that top 4 status in the league? And they've went out and they've spent big in a few different areas, and they've had to manoeuvre through FFP. But what we've seen on the pitch on Saturday was a phenomenal display for Newcastle, and it really does plant a flag in the ground for them for, the top half credentials that they had last season, dismissing Aston Villa 5-1. All the goals were clinically amazing to watch, very well worked team play, and Newcastle just looked like a well-oiled machine from top to bottom. I think the expectations being high around St James's Park is quite valid, but there is still a couple of spots maybe a few more recruits could help out with as the season drags on. We need to see some of the positives we've seen in some areas of the team replicated everywhere else. But one of the biggest takeaways of the game for me was Sandro Tonali. I've watched this guy up close and personal for the last 2 years, and when everyone was saying, or a lot of people were saying, 55 million was an overpay, I was just waiting for a game like this to happen, and it was first game of the season. Sandro, honestly, is going to look like a bargain for 55 million very quickly. And one of the things I thought when the game was all finished is I can't wait to have a look at this Newcastle performance, and I'm ready to eat some words on some of the expectations I had coming into the beginning of this season. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something, or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel, share and retweet and all that good stuff. Stay out of trouble, and let's get stuck into it. Now, there was nothing fancy, nothing different. We did talk in the channel about in pre-season, we maybe seen a little glimpse into what Plan B might look like for Eddie Howe, but this was firmly a Plan A effort. The strongest midfield three, I think, on paper, the strongest back four probably on paper, and as far as the front three goes, maybe there's a little bit of room, for debate on some of the positions, but certainly that front three was very formidable, and certainly looked the part. I was a little bit worried that with Sandro being demonstrated on the starting 11 as being the defensive midfielder, that maybe Aston Villa might have been able to work a few more goal-scoring opportunities than what they actually did. But Sandro did a great job at dropping in between the back four and getting on the ball to help control and circulate play and move it from left to right. But that wasn't really what he was all about in this game and in this team. Sandro really went everywhere and was affecting the ball all over the pitch. Obviously, he got into the box off a set piece for his goal, but he really did go everywhere. He was tackling people all over the pitch, and he was, getting in amongst it. He was really playmaking in the forward half, in the final third for Newcastle. More often, he was tracking back, and he does track back, but as you'll see with Tonali, he's not blessed with immense pace, particularly in recovery. He's not a quick recovery sprinter, as it were. Bruno does a little bit more of that. And, again, we did see Bruno, we've seen Joe Linton. It felt like all three of them were really running around as like a 888 kind of situation. We didn't really have a 6. There was no real 10 in this team either. But everyone was kind of running around and doing their thing in midfield, pulling their weight, winning the ball, and doing their best for the team at every turn, guarding their different zones and linking up with different players in different kind of triangle situations, from either playing out from the back with the goalkeeper when the play was deep, or when, the play was a little bit higher. But the most impressive thing about this whole 888 situation that we had from Newcastle really is the strength and endeavour of all three of them, because Sandro might not have great recovery pace, has got great strength and great technique and great eye for a pass. Bruno does have a little bit of all of those things as well, but is a little bit more sensible in those recovery zones. And Joe Linton is given a little bit more freedom to really use his strength across the middle of the pitch and really then link up with the forward line here. So between the three of them, there was a lovely balance, and it was really refreshing to see. It was a really different take on the midfield three in the Premier League for me, and I think that will be a big feature of Newcastle's success this season. The problem I've got is what's in behind this. So as the subs went on through the game, 5 minutes to the end is when we seen Bruno come off for Longstaff, and in the 92nd minute is when we seen Tonali come off for Anderson. Now, I think in a game against a top half team like Aston Villa, the preferred three is going to get as close to 90 minutes as absolutely possible. But as the season winds on and gets ever tougher across all these different competitions, where the rotation players will be carrying their weight, the pressure will come, and, maybe one more player that can fit into this mold just to give them that a little bit more confidence that they can run through the season is maybe something that we see put on the menu now. But with the defence, before we get to the good stuff, with the defence, with this kind of back four, with the addition of Livramento, we've got Target, we've got Lascelles, and then Murphy, the centre-back. All you guys were telling me in the comment section of the last video is really impressed and really looks the part. So we've maybe got two sets of a back four now there almost, and the plan B of moving to a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, depending on how you want to think of it, with Livramento and Target, is still available. So a lot of good defensive depth and options, but it's the quality there again. But there's less pressure, I think, on your best defense play in every game of the season versus the midfield, which is, you know, much more of a taxing game. You know, all three of these guys are being asked to cover every blade of grass to the best of their ability, keep up with the ball and cause overload situations in attacking spaces as much as they can. And one, if not two of them, are tasked with recovery running back in on, you know, to cover the defence in transition. So it's just a bit harder to keep these guys in every match, I think, than it will be to keep Schär, Trippier, Botman, Burn. You know, you could probably keep them in most matches and rotate around them, failing anything significant happening. But again, similar to the defence, we've got real parity, but in the attacking positions, the quality is clearly there. We've seen the key substitutes in the game. We've seen Gordon for Barnes, and we've seen Isak come off for Wilson. And this is the real strength that depth gives you now in the Premier League. With all the extra added minutes that we're getting into the game, and with the 5 subs rule, having best 11 caliber players on your bench is really undervalued, I think, in the comment section of some of my videos. But I think Barnes and Wilson did fantastically well when they came on, and really did show that they do have the ability in their forward ranks to do this kind of double sub, freshen the front line up, keep the same tactics, keep the same route to goal, but with those fresh legs and those guys that are eager to try and win their starting position for next week is a huge weapon in every modern elite team that Newcastle are, you know, obviously trying to move into that space with, playing Champions League football, 2 domestic cups in the league as well. And really across the whole 90 minutes, as these subs went on, I didn't feel Newcastle ever really shrinking in this match. It felt as if like every one of the players on the pitch was an extra foot taller, and they were carrying themselves out there in like a Champions League outfit, top 4 in the league last year. They felt a foot taller, they felt a little bit stronger, and they really did, for all intents and purposes, across the 90 minutes, bully Aston Villa. And the 5-1 result, for all the goals and all the play that we had here, it was fantastic to see. It was a great, as I said earlier, flag in the ground. Newcastle have set a really high bar, really high expectation for themselves. And for me, Sandro was one of the real heroes of the day. Isak, fantastic. And Barnes, fantastic to get a goal and an assist off the bench. And it just goes to show the high standards that are in this forward line, because Barnes did come on and make a lot of headlines for himself with that goal and assist off the bench. But Anthony Gordon, who he replaced, and I've not mentioned already, which is quite remiss of me, I thought Anthony Gordon looked amazing in this game. He looked really clever. Like, season's pro in a lot of ways, and it really affected the game in a really positive way. And I think Barnes, you know, didn't do himself any harm at all, and maybe pushing in to maybe not the left-sided position if Gordon's going to play here, but Barnes is versatile enough. Maybe we could find him over here once in a while. Almiron looked good without doing anything amazing. Now, the big test for Newcastle for me is in the next couple of fixtures. Playing Man City and Liverpool in quick succession is really going to test the midfield and the defence against the top 1% quality that's out there. You know, we've seen Liverpool at the weekend going all out attack with like 4 or 5 attackers, and we know what Man City bring, you know. So great result, great confidence booster for Newcastle certainly, but we'll find out a little bit more about the upper end output that this team's capable of over the next couple of weeks. How do you think Newcastle are going to do? Let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this one. On screen there now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.